Welcome, everyone. We have the sports writers here with us. Phil Stacy, Nick Kukuru. I'm doing it in the order on my screens. Probably not for you folks. I don't know how it comes up for you guys. Matt Williams and, of course, Nick Giannino back with us here. And welcome. The sports writers are here. We got a lot of things to discuss. We'll talk some Bruins and Celtics in just a moment or so. But let's get to the local scene. We've got the Aganis games going on right now. And Phil, I was just going to ask you this. We'll post this Tuesday morning, right? How about that? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Or you want to, or sooner, whatever you want. And then, so let's begin with let's wrap up the weekend or last week's fiesta with Nick Kukuru. Let's put him right on the hot seat, if you will, and give him a couple of oars and maybe something slippery to stand on. And what do you got for us, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was actually quite a interesting and entertaining week. I don't know whose idea it was, but somebody put these new nails in these greasy pole flags, and nobody could seem to pull it off. It was kind of funny, and everybody was getting all upset about it, which was kind of funny too. We had people on social media calling for instant replay. It was it was interesting, but in the end, it was three pretty good days. A lot of near misses, which is what you like to see. You don't want to see everyone just go halfway and fall off. So, everyone was kind of giving it a go. And we had three good winners. Derek Hopkins, unsurprisingly, won on Sunday. After he couldn't pull it down the first time, he was hanging upside down, and then he came back in the next round anyways and won it. And Steve Militello won on Saturday. He broke a couple records, actually. He's the oldest greasy pole champ at 44. Phil, you might remember him. He was on some of those good Gloucester hockey teams.
I was just going to say that name rings a bell to me. He played Gloucester hockey, right?
Yeah, he was a good defenseman back in those. I think he was probably on one of the state championship teams. I'd assume he was.
Well, now I mean, this will surpass that on his life resume, right? I mean,
he hadn't won in 20 years, so
champion.
Yeah, he broke that record too. He broke the longest gap between wins, 20 years. He last won in 2003 when he was.
Good for him. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then we had Colin Sweet win the Friday competition, which was really good. I thought the Friday one was probably the best of the 3 days. A lot of close calls. Cluno, my phone was blowing up. Someone named another Nick Kukuru walked and almost brought it down twice. So everybody thought it was me. A lot of people thought it was me. I'm like, no, I wouldn't have made it half that far, and I wouldn't have gone up there anyways. But it was a good walk for him.
Nick, you have a nail on the greasy pole, nail in the flag, and that just doesn't sound like the safest. I mean, to me, I don't know. What am I missing?
I never heard of an injury of anyone getting spiked by a nail. So I don't know. They were extra long this year or something. I don't know exactly what they used. If they just nailed it in stronger, if they used stronger nails, but the flag got turned upside down 4 times because they couldn't bring it down with them the whole way. The guys like to dive for it with a one-handed grab. You couldn't dive for it this year. You had to kind of run through it if you wanted to take it down. So to put into perspective, I can remember. I mean, I'm not that old. I'm only 39, but in my lifetime, I can remember 2 other times where the flag hung down. And it was 25 years ago, 15 years ago, and that happened 4 times in 3 days. Is kind of nuts.
We've got a T-shirt making the rounds here. #Nailgate. That I'm seeing. This is like a professional wrestling thing here. I mean, honestly, this is like crooked referees, the Hebner twins. I mean, this seems like it could be scripted. I mean, I'm not suggesting that the fix was in, but you couldn't write a bigger controversy than this.
Yeah, sometimes reality is stranger than fiction, I guess.
It'd be like it'd be like if you had a ladder match and like the nefarious deals, like had nailed it in so that the baby faces couldn't grab the title or something.
It's whatever St. Peter decides will happen that weekend. He gets the 2 fingers. He gets up there and he just kind of does his thing with the flag and the nail, and that determines how it goes.
Well, I guess walking across a pole with a nail out on it may not be the worst injury that you could sustain when you're doing that walk. So maybe that's not a big deal.
I want to see that. Paul Bilodeau had a great picture. You can see just how massive this nail is. That these 2 nails that are sticking out from the greasy pole. It was. Let me see if you guys can see them on my screen here. Or is that too bad on my phone?
No, I think.
Kind of dangerous, doesn't it?
That hurts.
Yeah.
Cool.
But nobody's gotten injured by a nail before. So I don't know. They nail it.
I want to say 2 quick things here. Paul Bilodeau, for the people listening who don't know, he's a great photographer. I mean, he's been with the company for a long, long time. He's the kind of guy who, like in the case I saw at the Greasy Pole, he's out in the water shooting pictures. He's not just like on shore with a zoom lens. Like he's literally wading in the water shooting pictures. Took it down on the floor for, like playoff basketball games and whatnot. So Paul's fantastic. You got some great shots. And I probably said this before, but I can't believe no one's really gotten sculled on the Greasy Pole. Like slip, fall, boom, off the
We had a
noggin.
broken neck not long ago. He got landed on though. So guy got landed on
Yeah,
by
you said
someone
that
jumping
last
off.
week.
Yeah,
no
yeah.
one
That's
ever
the
hits their
that's
head
the
on
worst
the
I've seen.
actual.
Actually, it's Steve Militello's brother.
No one actually hits their head on the pole falling.
That rarely it's happened, but rarely. The most common that they tell me is ribs, the rib injuries. There's a
That makes
bunch of
sense.
those every year. Yeah.
I
And
can
were there
think of
some
one
good
other one that
costumes
would
this
be
year?
painful.
No, they say it's too wide for that. I can't say from personal experience, but they say the pole's too wide to for that type of injury.
Were there any costumes this year?
Yeah, so good. Friday's winner was an Oompa Loompa. Uh, I think I
Nice.
got all three Mario brothers up there. The Jamaican bobsled team. There was some
Okay.
good.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Who's the
I wonder
third
if some
Mario?
of
Wait,
those
you talking
costumes
Wario?
might.
It was Mario, Luigi, and Wario. The other one was Wario.
Nice. I gotta give
Yeah.
props to Wario for that one. That's pretty good. We gotta get a Waluigi. They need a fourth
Yeah,
one.
exactly.
I'm wondering if the costumes help give you a little bit of balance. If it's like an Oompa Loompa costume, maybe it kind of balances you out a little bit as you're.
They usually ditch them, but they usually hinder you, and they ditch
They
them by
do.
the second round. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, once it's wet, right? I mean, and then
Yeah,
it's soaked. You gotta,
exactly.
yeah. Once you take one dive into the drink, the jig up, I guess.
But you know what? That's commitment. Like not only are you climbing up there and you're gonna wade your feet through God knows what to try to grab a flag, but you're putting in the commitment of coming up with a clever costume. Like that's dedication. I like that.
Yeah. Mhm.
Has there ever been someone who dressed up like St. Peter, or is that like
Yes, actually,
sacrilegious? It is.
actually, there has, and he had a band of people carrying him on the beach in like a makeshift recliner on top of a couple
Oh
crates.
my
It was
God.
pretty hilarious.
No
actually.
kidding.
Because
But
St. Peter would have
they
a
didn't put him in the
recliner.
window of the St. Peter's Club when it was over, right?
Yeah,
They didn't
exactly.
do that. Okay.
Well, I know we got so much more to talk about the Fiesta. I'm just going to scratch these other topics that we had. We're not going to have time for this other stuff here, no. But what about the same boat races, Nick? Any results out of there you can share with us? Any heroic performances?
Two past champs I hadn't won in a while won. So the men's, it was Chaos, who they were 6-time former champs, but they hadn't won in 10 years. They're kind of like the Patriots of same boats. They're always kind of in the mix. They hadn't won in 10 years, but they're they were relevant even in that 10-year drought, kind of, a few close calls, but they pulled it off yesterday with a pretty impressive performance. And then for the women, it was Rogue who won. They hadn't won in 5 years, and they took it down. So both of them, looked pretty good doing it.
A phrase I did not think I was to hear when I woke up today: the Patriots of same boat racing.
Yeah, they got the longevity. 20-year run. The Joe Novello's there, Bill Belichick.
Yeah. Hey, you know what?
I don't know who their Tom Brady would be though.
That's why this podcast is a must listen to. You're not going to get nuggets like this anywhere else. I mean, it speaks for itself.
But it does do that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. All right. Well, Nick, anything else you want to share with us on the Fiesta?
I think that covers it. I mean, the nails were the story of the weekend. We talked extensively about the nails, so I think we're good with the Fiesta talk until 2024.
Your Twitter, if I'm not mistaken, had a lot of stuff on it. The Gloucester Daily Times Twitter. So we'll try to pop some of that stuff up there on our post. So
I got a couple of the hanging flags on video. So
nice.
If somebody out there can get Nick Kukuru a Nailgate T-shirt, I would like to see that held up next week or our next podcast, because I'm sure the controversy will still be running rampant on Cape Ann.
Oh yeah.
But Nick, as a reporter, Nick, I'm sure who's responsible for the nails? You must have nailed that story down, so to speak.
No, I wish not yet. There's a whole group of guys that go out there, grease it up, and and put the flag on every year. So I don't know who it was this year. I don't know who had the idea. I don't know. I don't even know if they use different nails. It just seemed like they did.
Are they just going to like Ace Hardware and like give me a
Yeah,
couple
probably. Maybe
five
only the
eight?
heavy duty ones were available on this weekend. So,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I think they did it on purpose because people have been complaining that it's too easy lately because it's always has to be a controversy or something. So they say, "Oh, it's too easy. Try it now."
Where would they get their nails? Maybe they would go to the Rusty Nail. But what it
You're on
that's still
fire
a
with
place,
the dad
right?
jokes today.
I'm on fire, right?
You are on
Absolutely.
fire.
All right.
Get a little turtle soup today and tell them to make it snappy. Is that what it was? I just heard that one yesterday. Sorry, it was in my head.
Well, it was very appropriate. It worked.
Yeah,
You know.
hey,
But that turtle is a sea creature, right? It could be a sea
that's
creature.
true. Yes.
You know, there you
yeah.
go.
Maybe the turtles have to scatter this Fiesta weekend so they are not hit by falling objects out of the sky.
I'm gonna mix
15 feet off the pole, Nick. 15, 20 feet.
Yeah, it was high tide this weekend, so it's probably less than 15 feet. But high tide is like 25, 26 feet.
Oof. Oof. That's a fall.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do an audible here, mix things up a little bit, since Nick Giannino has kind of stayed kind of relatively quiet during the whole Fiesta chat here. Nick, let's go do a quick Celtics and Bruins thing here. We've got a couple of updates there. Then we've got the Aganis. So well, I'm watching the clock. We have plenty of time, but let's get you in here and get your thoughts on the Celtics trade or trades or whatever.
Yeah, I would have loved to dive a little bit more into the Fiesta there, but
Oh.
I'm not too familiar with the events. I've never been there. All I see is really Nick's tweets over the years and some of the articles we publish, but it sounds like something that could be on ESPN the Ocho. What do you guys think? They're bringing slam ball back, I guess. You guys remember that with the trampolines?
I do, yeah. That was
yeah.
good.
ESPN, they got a contract with ESPN, 2-year deal, I think. So that'll be coming back soon, a couple weeks, I believe.
That could be
Anyway,
something.
I digress. So Celtics, yeah, big moves obviously last week. First off, getting Porzingis over from the Wizards and dealing out Marcus Smart. I was still up when the news was breaking. I know a lot of people woke up to that news, the very next morning, seeing that Marcus Smart is no longer a Celtic. And personally, I'm fine with it. I don't know if anyone else wants to chime in with their opinions on him. I thought he was what he was. He was a great player for them for 9 years. The hustle, the grit, the intensity, the defense, all those things are great. But I think, it's been long enough with this core to not have the ability to get it done, at the NBA championship level. And you had to shake something up. I think you weren't going to, I guess they're not thinking about dealing Jaylen Brown. And obviously Tatum's going nowhere. So the next thing that makes sense is Marcus Smart, right? He's the other piece of that core. And to bring in a guy like Porzingis with that kind of skill set and that kind of height, 7'3", I think he's going to be great playing with Tatum and Brown. They can go to him in the post. He's really good in the post. He's got a great mid-range jumper. He can shoot over the top of pretty much anyone except for maybe Victor Wembanyama this year. But so I think it's a great get. He had his best statistical season last year with the Wizards. Kind of flew under the radar because the Wizards weren't very good, but played 65 games, which is the most since I think his rookie year or sophomore year. Probably would have played a few more, but they were out of the playoff mix towards the end of the year, so he sat the final 6 games or so. So if he can stay healthy, I think it's a great get. Elite scorer, 23 points last year, decent rebounder. You think he might be a little bit better for his size at 7'3", but still average over 8 rebounds. He can block shots. Just adds a different dimension. I mean, the Celtics are going to look a lot different next year. And now the question is, who do we bring in to run the point guard? Are they just going to keep Malcolm Brogdon and shift him over to the starting point guard gig? Are they going to run Peyton Pritchard more? Are they going to make another deal? We don't really know. The guy they drafted in the second round there, Jordan Walsh out of Arkansas, he's not a point guard, but I like the pickup with him as well. 6'7", grinds on the defensive end. I don't know if they were looking for someone, like that to kind of fill that role for Smart. And I'm not saying this guy, Jordan Walsh, is Marcus Smart, but he's a really good defender. He's long. He can pick up multiple positions. He spoke in his press conference earlier today and was talking about how he wants to do all the dirty work. He wants to be one of those fan favorites, diving on the floor, getting the crowd into it kind of thing, and just hustle plays. So I like the pickup there. We'll see. I don't think they're done yet. I don't think Brad Stevens is done. Everyone was kind of shocked by this move to get Porzingis and dealing away Smart. I don't know if there's going to be another big deal like that, but I think there's some other moves around the edges that they're going to make going into this offseason, and we'll see how it works out. But I'm totally cool with the move. No, I wasn't a non-Marcus Smart guy, but he wasn't my favorite player either. So I can, and not to mention they sent him to a good situation, right? They sent him to the Grizzlies, grit and grind culture over there. He can be a mentor to John Morant, and I think he'll fit right in there with a good team. So it worked out for both sides.
Nice.
Does it seem to you, Nick, that all kinds of Marcus Smart folks are coming out of the woodwork after this trade?
Oh, for sure. There's a lot of diehard Marcus Smart guys, and I know Willie's not one of them. We've had discussions about him over the years. He's been preaching to trade this guy for a few years now, and Marcus Smart has been in trade rumors in past seasons, but not this year. That's why it was kind of a little bit of a shock, right? But again, it just goes back to my thing. I think they needed to shake things up, and he's part of that core. You're not going to, if you're moving a guy like Gallinari or Peyton Pritchard or Grant Williams, that's not going to really move the needle much. They really wanted a bigger shakeup, and this did that. So, but yeah, there's a lot of diehard Marcus guys out there, and Kendrick Perkins, who covers the Celtics pretty regularly, is one of those guys, and he hates the trade. So there's going to be a split there. I think some people like it, some people don't, but we'll just have to see how it shakes out once they hit the court.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're coming out of the woodwork in the sense that like they've been there all along, right? They've been in our face this whole time, telling us, oh, if you don't like Marcus, you don't understand basketball. Those people who I can't stand. It's like, yeah, I have eyes. I can watch the game and see the bad shots, and I can want the bad shots to stop. So
the other thing too is people like that.
This guy's been.
Oh,
I think he's the most divisive Celtics player of my lifetime, and certainly the most divisive Celtics player since Antoine Walker, as far as the fan base, and there being kind of two sides of people that are either in love with the guy and think that he's like an all NBA type guy, and people who think that he's literally just a guy that could go at any time. I think in terms of like true Celtics fans, like that watch most of the games, it's a pretty even split. I think he's the most divisive player of my lifetime.
Yeah. And he got better, he got better with his passing. Obviously, his defense was always great. He shot the three ball better towards the end of his Celtics tenure, but still not great. And like you said, Willie, he takes some bad shots and he gets shot happy. He hits a couple in the first quarter. He's going to be launching the rest of the game.
He's a stopper. Like he's not a defensive stopper, an offensive stopper. The ball stops with him so many times when they blow late leads. He's touching the ball and it's not getting to Brown or Tatum. I mean, that miracle Derek White play to win game 6 against Miami came off of a freaking missed Marcus Smart 3-ball. And why is he taking that shot? Because realistically, 99 times out of 100, White doesn't make that putback. They lose, they go home, and it's on Marcus Smart, who is the third option at best. And, because he was drafted first and because he listens to the noise of the grit and the gumption and the leadership and all that nonsense, he had an outsized vision of his role, and I don't think ever quite got right with the fact that Tatum and Brown were better than him, and this clears the deck. People are worried about the assists. So he was their best assist guy. I bet Tatum's assists go up by 1.5 to 2 assists per game next year without Smart around. That's just my thought. And he's a good player, but he's an expendable player. And I kind of think he was on his way out anyway because, people doubt that with the Brogdon thing and the way the Porzingis trade fell apart. But I mean, the Porzingis trade fell apart at what, 10:30 at night with a midnight deadline, and they were able to find Memphis and get that deal put together in 60 to 90 minutes.
They put it on the back burner.
That just tells me that it was on the back burner, or maybe it was in the works already. You don't put that together that quickly without maybe it already kind of being, on third base, so to speak.
And not to spend much more time on it, but the emergence of Derek White last year too. I mean, you got an extra guard there. You can just give him more minutes. I mean, Derek White was phenomenal. He does a lot of the same things that Marcus does. He's a better shooter, really an underrated defender. Might rival Marcus Smart in that category. So having him there, I think made things a little bit easier to part ways with Smart.
Well, I think just adding a big body too. They had so many guards, right? Like you just have you've cleared it out, made yourself a little bit more balanced in terms of the positions, which is a good thing.
Well, Willie, I hear you're a little undecided on the deal. We'll leave it at that then.
Isn't Porzingis the catchphrase on some TV show for some character?
No, Buzzinga.
Oh, Buzzinga. Okay.
Buzzinga, something
Okay.
like that. Yeah.
I got you. Thank you.
And while Phil, you were asking those questions, why don't you give us some answers on this Bruins trade that went down on Monday?
Yeah. Wow. So actually, while we've been on the podcast, they made another deal. So they've traded for three young defensemen in 2 hours here. The bigger news, obviously, is trading away Taylor Hall, his $6 million contract for the next 2 years. No surprise they were going to have to do something right up against the cap. No flexibility. You don't know if Bergeron or Krejci are coming back. So the first two center positions are really up in the air. And I think after literally throwing all their chips in the middle last season in the playoffs, and then, getting busted on their first hand, they have to take it another direction. You can't pay everybody. You can't keep everybody that you want to keep. So there's going to be some guys that are going to go. Taylor Hall, while a nice player, I wasn't in favor of the trade when they brought him here, but I thought he did pretty well. I didn't expect him to be the league MVP that he was in New Jersey, but he wasn't the dog I thought he could be either. But you can't pay a third line winger $6 million. It's just not feasible in this market. So they trade him in a pure salary dump move, along with the rights to Nick Foligno, who will be an unrestricted free agent as of July 1st, for two restricted free agent defensemen, which means, they'll probably go to arbitration to try to settle things with the Bruins, but two right shot guys there that, could work their way into the mix if that's what they're looking to do. Alex Regula and Ian Mitchell, both guys have seen time in the NHL, but are primarily minor leaguers, but they're still young, 22, 24. So maybe there's hope there. Maybe the team sees something in them. I know Mitchell played for Jim Montgomery at the University of Denver. So there's a connection there with at least those two. The most recent deal they just made was they traded a depth forward they have in the system, Shane Bowers from New Jersey, for another 24-year-old defenseman, Riley Walsh. That tells me if you're bringing in three right shot defensemen, somebody's going to go off the big team. That's a right shot defenseman. And who would have tradability that makes a salary that they could shed themselves of that would free stuff up? I mean, to me, all signs point to Matt Grzelcyk there. Difficult to trade in the sense that, most people know the story. He's a Charlestown kid. He went to BU. His dad works for the Bull Gang. And, when he's on, he works really well. When he paired up with the Charlie McAvoy, they make a nice pair, but his flaws do come out at inopportune times, especially the postseason, where his size becomes an issue and some of his defensive deficiencies, the light gets a little brighter on those. So obviously that's not a done deal, but my guess is with the Bruins and the hockey world in Nashville tonight, Monday night, for the NHL awards and the upcoming draft later this week, I would not be surprised to see Grzelcyk go. I think it's a very real possibility, although certainly not certain, but a possibility they get rid of one of their two goalies, which again seems crazy. Linus Ullmark, by the time you listen to this podcast, is probably going to have won the Vezina Trophy. And Jeremy Swayman is a star in the making and a young guy. So why would you want to get rid of one of those two guys? Well, it would probably be Ullmark, to be honest with you. He's making $5 million a year. And to expect him to come anywhere close to replicating what he did this year might be a big ask. So that will just free up a lot of space for Boston. They have a guy in the pipeline in Bossy, Bossi, who they just re-signed. They like him, I know. Maybe he comes up and he's Swayman's backup. Maybe the money they save with the Taylor Hall trade, they use to sign Tyler Bertuzzi, who I know they like a lot. Maybe they have somebody else in mind, another top two center that they see that someone else doesn't see, in the same way that they got Pavel Zacha last year from New Jersey. So a lot of moving parts. Next week is going to be very interesting between, tonight's awards, the draft, the start of free agency on Friday, and then everything that happens trade-wise between now and then.
I mean, the only thing is Grzelcyk's only making 3.6. So, I mean, is that really a salary? Like, does that even really help your problems if you get rid of him? Like, are you going to get another third pair decent defenseman at under. I mean, it's not like Grizz is making 4 million, 5 million. 3.6 is kind of peanuts for what he does.
No, I think it's more, maybe part of that money goes towards re-upping Patrice Bergeron. Hey, instead of giving you, a base of $1 million or $1.5 million he made last year, maybe, or it being so incentive laden, which they have to pay for this year anyway. Maybe it's like we can give him $3 million to return, kind of thing.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, did they? So we talked about this a couple of weeks ago when both of these teams flamed out in the playoffs. The Celtics and the Bruins. Are either one of them going to have the guts to make substantive changes? And the Celtics have put it on the table and dealt Marcus Smart and changed the DNA of their team. Are the Bruins going to have the guts to do that? Because like getting rid of Taylor Hall is not that. I mean, he's just a guy in that room. He's not part of, for lack of a better term, the loserdom that's crept into the team the last 10 years. Like, are they going to try to trade Marchand? Or are they actually going to change the DNA of the team here?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on what you mean. Are they going to trade Marchand? I mean, maybe they would entertain it more now than they have in the recent past. I don't think it will happen. I still think if they were going to change that DNA, you're not talking about the guys who have been around a long time, sadly, because there's probably a limited market for Bergeron and Krejci, certainly. And I just think they would be reticent to trade Marchand. McAvoy and Pasternak aren't going anywhere, so that kind of limits things. Would they trade Jake DeBrusk? Yeah, I think for the right price they would.
I think that's a guy you actually need to get rid of because he's making $4 million and he's going to be due a really big raise in 24-25. So let's if you're going to change the team a little bit, right? Like that seems like a very tradable asset that you could probably get a lot back for coming off a career year, right? What are the odds that he replicates that? And are you realistically going to re-sign him for $6, $7, $8 million a year? I hope not, right?
Right,
so
right.
That seems like a great time to sniff him.
I have to think, that they're testing every possible avenue there. Where would I haven't certainly looked into like potential landing spots for him, like who's looking for I mean, I guess most teams would be looking for a top 6 winger who can score, but what would the fit be in terms of coming back to Boston? Like would they look out to say like a Vancouver and see if there's like some hidden gem there that they could get in return for him, or maybe they have they're looking for a bigger fish to fry. I mean, the free agent market I don't think is very strong. So if they're looking to trade DeBrusk and then land somebody in the free agent market, I don't really think that's going to work out for them very well.
It's probably looking more at signability, just to somebody that's already signed, so you don't have to re-up them and overpay him. Because I mean, DeBrusk is just to me, it's the classic guy that when he goes UFA is going to get overpaid, right? And you don't want to have that on your books for 6, 7, 8 years, probably.
No, he could very well end up being like another Zach Parise type, and he's probably not even as talented as Parise was.
No, God, no.
But you remember, like, the big deal he signed with Minnesota, he and Ryan Suter. And I don't really think that panned out for the team very well in either case. So I agree with you there.
I mean, it's just like they let Chara go because they thought they needed changes. And I don't think they have the guts to do the same thing with Bergeron. And I don't know if they should or not, but I don't even know if they have the guts to have the conversation, which is interesting. And I give kudos to the Celtics for like actually pulling the trigger and doing it for once.
Well, our time's we got to shift topics here if we could here. Go to the Aganis games. Nick Kukaroo picked up an award over there Sunday at the.
Oh boy, Nick!
Congratulations, Nick, the media award. So
thank you.
They make you walk down in front of all the crowd in front of Manning Field there to pick it up.
Oh yeah, just fine. I have to talk to Dick Newton, which is always good.
Nice. Oh yeah, never dull there. Okay. Well, we're running a little long here, but we do have time to talk about the game set. When this airs on Tuesday night, they've got the boys soccer game at Manning Field at 5:30, followed by the girls at 7. Wednesday, of course, the All-Star football game. Gentlemen, I don't know if you guys want to talk about anything in the past or the football game coming up. Matt Bouchard, North coach out of Salem High School, and Lou Ciccatelli, the South coach from Revere High School, for the football game on Wednesday night at 6. But we'll let you guys take it. Nick, let me start with Nick Kukaroo. Why don't we start with you, and then we'll just go around quickly as our final about 5 minutes or so that we have left here.
Mm-hmm. I think the most representation from Cape Ann is in the boys hoop game. I think it's 3 Manchester Essex kids and a Gloucester St. Laurent is coach one of the squads later this week. So that one has the most Cape Ann representation. I believe it's Brendan Twombly and Patrick Cronin from Manchester, Essex, Adam Borwick from Gloucester. All very good players, all stars. So wasn't surprised to see any of those three on the roster for sure.
Nick Giannino, I know you've been at some of the games, right?
Well, I'll be at the hoop tonight.
Yep.
So girls first, and then the boys. And from our area, not a ton of boys players. I'm looking at the roster right now. We got Nate Braz from Peabody, who's a key guy off the bench for them this year. Had some good playoff games, and then we got Matt Richardson from Masconomet as well. I think that's it. Nope. And we got on the other side on Kukuru's team there with the Manchester, Essex, and Gloucester kids. We got Essex Tech's Colin Holden, Liam Byes from St. John's Prep, and Toby Adams from Ipswich, as well as Jorbert Peralta from Salem Academy. So well represented here from the North Shore. And then in the girls' game, just a couple girls from Peabody, Taylor Betancourt and Bo Betancourt. And was that it? Oh, and an Essex Tech girl, Brianna Grant. So a little slimmer there, but Willie had a nice connection there for the girls' side. It looked like, who was the girl from St. Mary's? Both of them there, Morgan and Pereira, or
No, Morgan's from Swampscott. Kellen Priya, I think is how you say it. Pereira, or something like that.
Yep. So she played on an 8th grade team with both of those girls from Peabody. They won a title. What was it, the CYO? So that'd be cool to see them back on the court playing for the same team here one last time for their high school careers. But we'll see the games. They're going to be at Lynn Classical tonight, and then I'll be at the boys soccer game as well tomorrow.
Okay. Matt, you want to pick up anything, any of the sports so far?
Well, one thing that I noticed in the baseball game is, to borrow a phrase from Taylor Swift, there were some blank spaces in the lineup, so to speak.
Nice. Relevant.
There were 12 kids on one side and 11 on the other, and one team only had one pitcher. So the poor guy had to eat up 5 innings and threw 107 pitches, which I think has to be an Agganis game record. I mean, I haven't been keeping that, but I've never seen anybody throw that many pitches. So good game. I mean, the guys played hard, but I think I would just throw out into the ether there that they might consider putting the baseball and softball like on Monday or Tuesday. I've been hearing from a lot of high school coaches and club travel people that there's a lot of weekend baseball and softball the week after Father's Day. It's a really popular time for tournaments. I know there were 2 big Legion tournaments this weekend too. That's not even like high paying travel ball. So sometimes you're gonna have a hard time getting kids to come to the Agganis game. And so maybe that might be time to take a look at that, because it is a great event, and future major leaguers have pitched in the game, right? I mean, Ben Bowden played in the game, Pat Rotolo, some other Red Sox draft picks that are in the book here. So, I mean, it is a prestigious game, but you might get more players there on Monday or a Tuesday than you would on a Sunday, seems to be what I'm hearing from a lot of my sources. And also, we should touch on the softball real quick. Big kudos to Maya Perron of Beverly, the MVP. Such a cool story. Phil and I got a chance to meet her when she was Beverly High's nominee for the Student Athlete Award. And her mom, who she has a great relationship with, Katie, her adopted mom, actually was the plate umpire for this game. And I can't think of a cooler thing than having your mom be the umpire, and then you hit a home run and you get the MVP. I mean, what a great story. And just kudos to Maya, one of the best kids in the area. She's going to play softball at UMass Boston next year, and really, really just a tremendous all-around player, great student, and an even better kid, and such a cool thing for their family to get to share that over at Frazier Field yesterday. That's just one of those things that's like heartwarming,
Bill Stacy, the shot clock is going down here on us here, but you've got the last 45 seconds here.
All right, looking forward to the Agganis football game, 61st annual on Wednesday night. Willie and I will be there. Looks like we got some real good talent there, especially in that South squad. A lot of boys from Peabody, of course, led by last year's league MVP and Endicott-bound quarterback Shea Lucky Lynch. They're paired up with guys from St. John's Prep, Bishop Fenwick, Essex Tech. A lot of talent on that team going up against the North squad, which is primarily most of the rest of the Northeastern Conference. Got some Cape Ann League guys over there too, so should make for a good game. Weather looks good, so looking forward to it.
All right. On that note, with our time running out, gentlemen, great job, and we'll talk again soon.